It is March 19th, 2024, at exactly 2:38 p.m. in a quiet suburban neighborhood on the outskirts of Salon, Oklahoma. A delivery truck slowly pulls into the driveway of a modest white two-story house. The driver steps out of the vehicle. He is wearing the standard brown uniform of his company, a package tucked securely under one arm and a handheld scanner in the other. His name is Darnell Simmons. He is 35 years old, a devoted father of 3 children, and has worked for the same delivery company for 9 solid years. This is stop number 41 on his Tuesday route. He walks up the front path with the calm confidence of someone who has done this thousands of times before. He steps onto the porch, presses the doorbell, and waits. The door opens. A white man in his early 40s stands in the doorway. He is smiling warmly. Watch carefully. He gestures invitingly inside the house. Darnell hesitates for exactly 2 seconds. Then he nods politely. Then he steps through that doorway. The door closes behind him with a quiet click. Those 14 seconds of footage, captured by a neighbor's security camera positioned across the street, are the last time anyone ever sees Darnell Simmons alive. In the next few minutes, I am going to show you exactly what happened after that door closed. The real question is not simply what happened to Darnell. The real question is how many times this man had done this before. And when you see what investigators later discovered inside an abandoned warehouse 11 days after that moment, you will understand why this single case forever changed safety protocols for every delivery driver across the entire state of Oklahoma. At first, everyone assumed the worst, but in the most ordinary way. Darnell Simmons, an experienced and well-liked driver, made a routine delivery stop and accepted a friendly invitation to step inside for a moment. Perhaps it was a robbery gone wrong. Maybe he saw something he should not have seen. Maybe the homeowner panicked. Wrong place, wrong time, a random tragedy. The kind of heartbreaking story that unfortunately happens in a country this size. That is what local police believed for the first 72 hours. That is what the news channels reported. That is what the public assumed. They were completely wrong. This was never random. This was never a simple robbery. And it had absolutely nothing to do with anything Darnell saw or did not see inside that house. Because the man who opened that door, the man with the friendly smile, the man who casually offered Darnell a cup of coffee on a warm Tuesday afternoon in March, had been waiting for exactly this moment for a very long time. His name was Wayne Prescott. He was 43 years old, never married, had no children, and worked as a freelance accountant from home. To his neighbors, he appeared quiet, polite, and unremarkable. The kind of man you would never look at twice. The kind of man who waved politely from his driveway when you jogged past. The kind of man who always brought his trash cans in on time and even donated to the local fire department fundraiser twice a year. Nice guy, the neighbors would say. Quiet, but nice. But here is what none of them knew. Wayne had a secret room in his basement. It was hidden behind a carefully constructed false wall designed to look like ordinary storage space. And inside that room were things that would later cause a veteran FBI agent with 22 years of experience to stop the interview, walk outside, and take a long moment to compose himself. We will get to that room. But first, you need to understand who Darnell Simmons really was, because he deserves to be remembered as so much more than just another victim in a statistic. Darnell grew up in Tulsa. He graduated from Memorial High School and spent 6 years working construction before landing the steady delivery job. At 24, he married his high school sweetheart, Tamika. At 26, they welcomed their first son, Elijah. 2 years later came the twins, Amara and Isaiah. When Darnell got the delivery route, he told Tamika it was perfect. Monday through Friday, home by 6 o'clock every evening, and full weekends with the kids. He knew every street in southwest Oklahoma like the back of his hand. He memorized the names of regular customers. Mrs. Gutierrez on Maple Street always had a cold glass of lemonade waiting for him in the summer. Mr. Hensley on Pine Street needed help carrying heavy packages because of his arthritis. Darnell never rushed. He took his time. For 9 years, 55 stops a day, 5 days a week, this was never just a job. This was how Darnell built real connections, real community, and real trust. And on March 19th at 2:38 p.m., that same trust cost him his life. Wayne Prescott had spent years perfecting the appearance of a completely normal, harmless man. He had bought the house in Salon 4 years earlier with cash. No mortgage, no questions asked. He kept the exterior exactly as the previous owners had left it. Same paint color, same garden, same American flag on the porch. He attended just enough community events to be noticed but never remembered too clearly. He nodded at neighbors. He brought his trash cans in on schedule. Everything about him was carefully calculated to blend in. But behind that ordinary facade, Wayne had been a member of a private online group for 7 years. The group shared a dangerous and hateful ideology. They believed that certain people did not deserve to exist simply because of the color of their skin. Wayne did not just believe these things. He discussed them. He planned for them. He prepared for them. The house in Lilton was not chosen by accident. The cash purchase was not for convenience. The location was selected specifically because the nearest neighbor was 200 feet away and delivery trucks passed through the area 3 times every week. The grainy, low-resolution footage from the neighbor's Ring doorbell, positioned 180 feet across the street, still captured enough to tell the story. Darnell's truck enters the frame. He parks in the driveway, steps out with the package under his arm, and walks up to the front door. He rings the bell and waits. 7 seconds pass. The door opens. Wayne appears. Even at this distance, you can see him smile. You can see him gesture welcomingly inside. Darnell hesitates for exactly 2 seconds. Then he shifts his weight slightly. He nods. He steps forward. The door closes behind him at 2:38 and 47 seconds p.m. Remember that exact timestamp, because in 11 days investigators would need to calculate precisely how long Darnell Simmons remained alive after that door closed. The answer would haunt every single person who worked the case. What the cameras could not capture was what happened inside Wayne's house. In the kitchen, a pot of coffee had already been brewed. 2 cups were already set out on the counter. The second cup contained something extra. A veterinary sedative that was easy to obtain online, tasteless, odorless, and took effect in 4 to 7 minutes. Wayne knew the exact dosage. He knew the timing. He knew precisely how long he had before Darnell would begin to feel dizzy. 5 minutes of calm, friendly conversation was all he needed. Just enough time to seem completely normal, completely trustworthy. Exactly the kind of person you would accept a cup of coffee from on a hot Tuesday afternoon in Oklahoma. Darnell never made it to his next stop number 42 at Mrs. Chen's house on Willow Street. She had ordered a birthday gift for her grandson and waited until 5 o'clock before calling the delivery company. The dispatcher checked the system. Darnell's last successful scan had been at 2:31 p.m., stop 40, just 7 minutes before he arrived at Wayne's house. The package for Wayne was never scanned as delivered. The dispatcher called Darnell's phone. No answer. Called again. Still no answer. At 6:15 p.m., Tamika called the company. Darnell had not come home. At 7:30 p.m., she filed a missing person report. At 9 o'clock that night, officers found Darnell's delivery truck still parked in the driveway of the white 2-story house. The house was dark. No one answered the door. They ran the plates. Wayne Prescott. No criminal record. No warrants. No red flags. They left a note on the door asking him to contact the police and drove away. They drove away because at that moment Darnell Simmons was still alive. 3 days passed. Wayne did not contact the police. He did not answer his door. His car was gone. Neighbors said they had not seen him since Tuesday afternoon. On the 4th day, investigators obtained a search warrant. They entered the house. The coffee pot was still on the counter. 2 cups were in the sink. One still contained residue that later tested positive for the sedative. They found the basement. They found the false wall. And what they discovered inside that hidden room changed everything about how they understood Wayne Prescott. Hundreds of photographs were neatly organized in binders. Every single one showed black men, all delivery drivers, photographed from a distance without their knowledge. Some images were taken through car windows, some through storefront glass, some from parking lots. Each photo was carefully labeled with a date, a location, a description of the vehicle, and license plate numbers. The oldest photo was dated 11 years earlier, from a different state. Wayne had been collecting these images for over a decade. But what truly stopped the investigators in their tracks were the 14 photos marked with red X's. 14 different men. 8 years. And Darnell's photo was already on the wall, dated 3 weeks before March 19th. There was no X through it yet. The next 72 hours became the largest manhunt in Oklahoma County history. Wayne's car was found abandoned at a rest stop near the Texas border, But Wayne himself was not in Texas. Cell tower records placed his phone in a rural area 14 miles north of Ultan, an area that contained one notable abandoned structure, an old meatpacking plant that had been closed since 2019. On day 11, they found it. They found Wayne's sedan parked behind the building. They found fresh tire tracks and footprints. And they found Darnell. What they discovered inside that warehouse cannot be described in full detail here. What I can tell you is this. Darnell had been kept alive for at least 7 days after that door closed on March 19th. The medical examiner's report noted injuries consistent with prolonged and deliberate torture. Darnell was not the only victim in that warehouse. There was clear evidence that at least 3 different people had been present, different boot prints, different cigarette brands, and multiple DNA profiles on objects left behind. Wayne Prescott was arrested 3 days later at a motel in Wichita Falls. He was not hiding. He was waiting. When officers approached his door, he smiled. The exact same calm, friendly smile captured on the CCTV footage. He offered no resistance. He said nothing. He simply handed them a burner phone. On that phone were 47 minutes of video. I cannot describe what was on that video. I can only tell you that 2 seasoned investigators who watched it immediately took medical leave and never returned to duty. I can tell you that during the trial, the prosecution played just 90 seconds of audio with the screen turned away from the jury, and 3 jurors had to be excused because of what they heard. Wayne had recorded everything, not because he was careless, but because he was proud, because this was not the first time, and because he wanted someone to know exactly what they were capable of. During interrogation, Wayne calmly gave investigators 3 names, 3 other men who had been with him in that warehouse, all members of the same online group, all believers in the same hateful ideology, all participants in what Wayne coldly referred to as cleansing operations. Those 3 men were arrested within 48 hours. Their homes were searched. In one home, investigators found a similar collection of photographs, 23 images, 6 already marked with red X's. In another home, they found detailed journals spanning 4 years, listing names, dates, and locations. The third man's computer contained communication logs with 14 other members of the group spread across 6 different states. The FBI took over the case. What began as one missing delivery driver in Oklahoma quickly became a sprawling federal investigation that uncovered a decade of hateful activity across the American South and Midwest. The trial revealed the horrifying truth. Wayne had done this before, at least twice, possibly more. The photos marked with red X's corresponded to missing person cases that had gone cold years earlier. One in Arkansas in 2018, one in Louisiana in 2020. Both victims were black delivery drivers. Both cases had never been solved. Both bodies were never recovered. Wayne never explicitly confessed to those earlier crimes, but DNA evidence linked him to a vehicle abandoned in rural Arkansas 3 years earlier, a vehicle that had belonged to 32-year-old FedEx driver Clarence Morton, who disappeared after his last delivery on a Tuesday afternoon in August 2018. Clarence's body has never been found. Neither has the body of 29-year-old UPS driver Jerome Washington from Shreveport, who vanished in November 2020 after his route took him through a rural subdivision 40 miles from the city. Wayne smiled when those names were mentioned in court. Always the same smile. Wayne Prescott was convicted on 14 separate charges, including first-degree murder, kidnapping, conspiracy, and federal hate crime enhancements. He received 6 consecutive life sentences with no possibility of parole. His 3 accomplices received sentences ranging from 45 years to life. But the conviction could not undo what had already been done. The online group still exists, under a different name now on a different platform, but the 14 members identified by investigators across 6 states have never been charged. The evidence was ruled circumstantial. The communication logs suggested knowledge but could not prove direct participation. They are still out there. They are still planning. And every single day, delivery drivers across rural America still pull into driveways, walk up to front doors, and ring doorbells. Tamika Simmons gave only one interview after the trial. She said she thinks about March 19th constantly. She thinks about the 2 seconds her husband hesitated on that porch. She thinks about what might have happened if he had simply said, "No, thank you," and walked back to his truck. She thinks about the 40 previous stops he made that day. Every single homeowner had been kind, normal, and human. 9 years of positive interactions had taught Darnell to trust people, to see the good in them, to accept a simple cup of coffee on a hot afternoon. She said the hardest part is not the grief. The hardest part is raising 3 children to remain open and kind in a world where that same kindness can cost you your life. Elijah is now 11 years old. He wants to become a delivery driver just like his father. Tamika still does not know how to tell him no. She does not know how to explain that the job that supported their family is also the reason his father never came home. The delivery company changed its protocols immediately after Darnell's case. Drivers are now strictly instructed never to enter a customer's home for any reason. GPS tracking is monitored in real time. Any stop lasting longer than 10 minutes triggers an automatic check-in. These are important safety measures. They may save lives. But no company policy can protect against someone who has spent years perfecting the appearance of a completely normal, trustworthy neighbor. Wayne Prescott spent 7 years identifying potential victims. He studied routes. He learned patterns. He chose locations specifically because they were isolated. He did not need Darnell to come inside. That was merely his preference. If Darnell had refused, Wayne would have waited for the next driver, or the one after that, or he would have found another way. Because for people like Wayne, this was never an impulse. This was ideology. This was a mission. And no protocol in the world can fully protect against someone who believes that ending your life is a righteous act. Remember the 14 photos marked with red X's? Only 3 have been linked to confirmed cases so far. That leaves 11. 11 men who disappeared over an 8-year period. 11 families still waiting for answers. 11 bodies that may still be buried in rural fields, abandoned buildings, or places no one will ever think to search. Wayne knows where they are. He has never said. His 3 accomplices know some of the locations. They have never said either. They have no incentive to talk. They are already serving maximum sentences. Cooperation would give them nothing. So they remain silent. And those 11 families remain trapped in an endless present tense. Not knowing, never knowing. Is he alive somewhere? Is he dead? Will we ever bury him? Will we ever be able to say goodbye? If you work a delivery route in rural America, please understand this. Darnell Simmons did nothing wrong. He was friendly. He was professional. He trusted his instincts. And his instincts told him that the man at the door was safe. Because every visible signal pointed that way. Clean house, American flag on the porch, friendly smile, coffee already brewing on the counter. Nothing about Wayne Prescott suggested danger. That was the entire point. He had spent years perfecting the appearance of normal. And he is not the only one. The FBI investigation identified 14 other members of similar groups who have openly expressed intent to target delivery workers. They see the uniform as both a symbol and an opportunity. The truck arrives alone. The driver approaches alone. No witnesses. No backup. Just trust. Darnell's route number was permanently retired after his death. No other driver will ever make those 55 stops in that exact sequence again. His truck was taken out of service. His locker at the distribution center was turned into a memorial filled with photos and cards from customers who remembered him. Mrs. Gutierrez still makes lemonade every summer and leaves it on her porch in case any delivery driver needs it. She says it helps her feel like Darnell is still out there somewhere, finishing his route. This is what happened to Darnell Simmons. This is what 14 seconds of CCTV footage captured. This is what a simple cup of coffee offered by a smiling man ultimately cost one family. If you have ever accepted a drink from a stranger, if you have ever stepped inside a home because someone seemed nice, if you have ever trusted your instincts about a person you did not know, remember this, Wayne Prescott seemed nice too. And somewhere right now, someone just like him is standing on a porch, smiling at a delivery driver, quietly asking themselves the same question. Should I invite him inside? The answer should always be no. But Darnell said yes because he was kind, because he was trusting, because 9 years of experience had taught him that people are mostly good. He was right about that. Most people are good. But it only takes one who is not. One smile, one cup of coffee, one moment of trust, and then 11 days in a warehouse with men who believe you do not deserve to exist. Share the story. Tell people about Darnell. Because company protocols and GPS tracking and safety memos cannot do what awareness can. They cannot make a driver pause before stepping through that door. Only stories like this one can do that. Darnell deserved better. His family deserves answers. and every delivery driver in America deserves to come home.